Hello and welcome to the Man O'Clock News. My name is Michael Gray and I'll be your host. Today I wanted to show a few things and talk about a few things that you probably didn't see in this war that's raging in the Middle East. Now I also want to make a point that it's not raging just in the Middle East. There's a greater conflict internationally that's basically being fought by anti-democracy, anti-freedom countries that are in the Middle East, namely Iran and its accomplices, let's call it. And I want to bring up some points like how Hamas is actually winning this conflict, this war. Why most neutral people are staying silent, and how this invisible war is actually waged upon in social media. And I also want to mention that I wrote to Louder with Crowder. I addressed it to Stephen Crowder. I wrote a letter I'm going to show you, and up until now I had no response from him or his team acknowledging the email or even responding. Okay. First of all, let's take a look at gun control and the rise of Islamic radicals. You can see that's a fake email of mine that, well, I don't use it. I used it to basically so I can message Stephen Crowder. Louder with Crowder tips at protonmail.com. Dear Stephen, or his email reader / screener reading this, hello. My name is not important, first sergeant in the IDF, retired and disabled. I wanted to ask if you are at any point going to cover that the world is slowly being blanketed by pro-Hamas, anti-non-Muslim countries and cultures. It seems like that the crazy left that blurred the lines with stupid ego-driven, attention-seeking, virtue-signaling woke mob was only a first wave in order to sow division and unrest in the West, namely the US and the UK. Is it inconvenient that now the West is weakened by Biden and his party, the leadership in the UK isn't far behind, and social media stupidities have become more common? So many distractions. While China seems not to be militant or openly preparing for war, they're not making moves, I'm guessing, they are counting on stupidity in the West, ignorance, the failure of educational systems, and the moral fiber are going to hell together in a handbasket. Now more radical ideas are being propagated slowly into the mainstream platforms, and it is becoming a real threat. It reminds me of that World War II poem about first they came for the trade unionists, which shows what happens when the people who are not you are being targeted and silenced. Well, now they came for the Jews again, and most of the Western leaders are living in a bubble of ignorance and moral relativism. The UN looks like a high school group that, while looking, they are busy about being, virtuous and neutral as they can, and being popular with other nations so they don't stand out. The lack of resolve in the investigating the actual truth has terrible ramifications. You can see a lot of news outlets not being in Gaza, not being actually where the bombs fall in Israel, not reporting from the ground. You can say it's not true, but just Google it, find it. As I said, the lack of resolve is investigating the actual truth has terrible ramifications. Those who believe that the Middle East problems are just that are living in denial, ignorance, or malevolence. The words "you are next" have fallen on deaf ears in the last month, repeatedly. I want to add a few points. That I actually sat down and written that I think are very important that people are dismissing. When you live far away from terrorism and far away from an entire region calling for your annihilation, which is the Middle East calling for the annihilation of Israel and the Jewish people, you naturally don't make an effort to be well informed. You're not looking for uh, evidence, real footage, like the ones that, Hamas recorded for you very meticulously with body cams, GoPro, whatever they are. And you won't make that effort to watch that, because I understand it's horrific, but at the same time, this is what actually happened. All right, if you're going to make an emotional decision on whose side to take on this, you should look at both sides. I mean, it's a pretty big clue when one side is targeting specifically civilians, murdering them, beheading them, raping women. There are things I can't say for YouTube reasons that took place, but I'm sure if you Google the videos, you can find them. They've been openly shared. Um, it's terrible. It's terrible. And to be able to say, well, I'm going to excuse it because it was fueled by the Palestinian struggle for independence and freedom. What struggle? What struggle? I served in the army between 2000 and 2003. And in the year 2000 and 2001, I served in Gaza. They were very free. The terrorists weren't. They were being policed and monitored. But the citizens themselves, we were just there as peacekeepers. Back in 2005, when Israel uprooted its own Jewish community out of it, okay, to give the land and give the Palestinians their independence, well, it was seen as a positive move. But look further into the future to 2023 on October 7th. People think this is an unusual, hugely terrible thing that happened once. It's not true. The reason why they call it an open air prison, yeah, because they're surrounded by Israel's borders and they're not allowed freely into Israel, is October 7th. October 7th is the reason. Before October 7th happened, we knew very well, and anyone who knows this region and the forces at play here, which is Iran supporting terrorism, the Palestinian authorities keeping all the Palestinians in the Gaza poor and with horrible infrastructure. You would have known this. I apologize for this video. Was made rushed, and there are cuts that you will be able to see. Forgive me, but I wanted this not to take too long to put out there, so I cut a few corners. Now, I want to address that the simple fact of people calling Gaza an open air prison. First of all, if you go to prison, I think the best type of prison, if you're afforded one, is an open air one, where you can freely live within it wherever you want, walk around freely, and do whatever you like within a huge swath of land. I think that's best. Nobody has the balls to say this, but you know what? I say you should consider it. Also, why is it an open air prison, as they said? Because Israel is guarding its borders. Why is it guarding its borders? I mean, are those Palestinians are free-loving people? Free and freedom and loving people. Are they? No. No. For decades, their own authorities have kept them oppressed by the authorities, blamed it on Israelis. Okay, there was stagnation in infrastructure. There's no evolution in terms of economics and education and international relations. They could have funded so many things inwards to make their lives better for the next generation. But instead they say, no, we are going to focus on killing the Jews. The Jews, we are interested in just obliterating Israel. Now, some of you think it's funny that I'm making the accent, but I'm angry. So after this horrible thing has happened, the most horrible thing is still happening. because people across the world are chanting from the river to the sea and thinking, oh, I just want Palestine to be free. I want Palestinians to have a freedom, and the Palestinian Authority doesn't want them to be free. Hamas doesn't want them to be free. They don't care about the territory of Israel. They just want Israel gone. Israel and the Jews. It's a well-known fact that Muslims and Jews, there's no love lost there. Difference is, the Jews do not erect terrorist organizations to wipe out all the Muslims. It was never a goal. It was never a plan. I mean, if Israel wanted to commit genocide and ethnic cleansing, all it had to do is about one day launch rockets that would have, turned that place into rubble. That's it. No more Gazans, no more Hamas. People are acting like we don't have the capabilities for this. We have nuclear weapons, for God's sake. It's just not who we are. It's not what we want to do. As a retired soldier, I was heavily punished for even thinking about touching the what do you call it, the trigger guard on my assault rifle. We were punished by it, court-martialed. So to think that we are just going out there and just willy-nilly shooting and bombing and blasting whatever we want, that's a fallacy. That's a very blatant lie. We as a Western democratic free country are held to higher standards, which obviously Hamas isn't. So when you choose your side in this conflict, ask yourself a question like, who is more likely to behead me because of my ideals? Who is more likely wants to convert my religion and have religious law controlling everything? Who wants to take away my freedom? Who wants to take away democracy? Those are the bad guys. Those are the bad guys. Not those who are trying to protect their own civilian population from more October 7th. You want to know why things are the way they are? Investigate. Ask questions. Even when I'm talking, I'm not saying trust me and believe me. I'm not. It's not what I say. It's not my position. It's facts out there that you can find if you actually go looking for it. Because if you're thinking this is a Middle East or Jewish or Israeli problem, you're absolutely wrong. The problems are not just here. They're in the streets of London, they're in the US, and they're becoming more and more extreme. And the US and the UK currently are looking spineless. They're not standing up for law and order. They're not standing up for their civilian population, let alone what's right or wrong. People in the UK are being encouraged to keep the peace by not showing flags supporting the UK or, God forbid, the Israelis. So use your own minds, listen, look, and find the truth. Do not support bad people because you want to look popular. The virus of virtue signaling is terrible. It's terrible. It's a lot of things that are woke and terrible in this world are born from one thing: narcissism. People want to feel special. They want to feel better than others, superior, and they want to be in that group of the righteous and the morally superior. They're not. They're lazy. They don't do the work. They don't actually have a reason to be proud of themselves, because all they do is whine, complain, and try to silence other people with other opinions. Make your own choices, have your own brain, do your own research, and if you want to feel pride, do something to be prideful for. See you later.